I'm just gonna give people a couple minutes to join. I think we're still waiting for a few more people, but welcome to everybody who's here. Welcome to this webinar on how to excel your program management with YouNoodle Compete, our university division. My name is Pernille Knapman, and I'm the head of marketing and growth here at YouNoodle, and I'm joined today by Lorena Chalette, who is our head of programs, and of course our two lovely guests who I will introduce you to in a second. Before we jump into the actual matters of things, I want to go over a few housekeeping rules. So feel free to introduce yourself in the chat with your name and institutions if you haven't already done so. And please use also the chat function to leave comments or questions for the speakers. And kindly mute your microphone when you're not speaking so that we sure that everybody can hear the person who's speaking. And we will be recording this session, so no need to take notes. We will share this with all you guys afterwards. And I guess it's 8:03. So I will go ahead, just to be mindful of everybody's time, I'll go ahead, get started, and then people can just join in. And if you will please let people in as they join. Okay. So a little bit about us and YouNoodle, for those of you who don't know us yet. YouNoodle was founded in 2010 in San Francisco. We've been working for the last 12 plus years with universities, governments, foundations around the world, helping them set up, source, manage, and evaluate their innovation and startup competitions on our platform called YouNoodle Compete. And these metrics are really just a testament to the big network that we've been able to build up over these years, and has only been possible thanks to the trust that our clients and partners have shown in us. And these universities that you see here are just some of the many universities that we work with through our time and since our early days in San Francisco. Enough about us. I want to finally get to the introduction of our two speakers today, Jessica and MJ, who are joining us from George Washington University and the University of Virginia. Jessica is the program manager of student entrepreneurship within the George Washington Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship. Jessica is responsible for bringing bridging educational and experiential opportunities to the George Washington community and beyond. And in particular, Jessica manages the new venture competition and innovation of an entrepreneurship lab. Before joining the Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, Jessica spent 5+ years building health tech products and supporting startups at the AARP. Jessica received a Bachelor of Science in Public Health Science and a minor in Human Development, and she's currently pursuing her MBA at the George Washington University. So very warm welcome to Jessica. Thank you for being here today. MJ Toms has been organizing startup pitch and venture capital competitions for over 15 years for students at the University of Virginia. And in that time, the competition have gone through many iterations, from traditional business plan competitions with in-depth market analysis to encouraging students to focus on first customers. Competitions have also evolved from only including MBA students to engaging students across the universities. Some of the other main focus areas of MJ include educating MBA students interested in digital product management as a founder or within a firm, and MBA students interested in buying a business to own and operate, also known as entrepreneurship through acquisition. And also a very warm welcome to MJ. And with that, I will hand over the microphone to Lorena, who will help guide us through the webinar today. And together with our two speakers, they will talk more about how to run a successful university program with YouNoodle on YouNoodle platform, on the YouNoodle platform, but also everything else that goes around running these types of programs and working with student entrepreneurs. So over to you, Lorena.
Thank you so much, Pernille. Perfect. So let's kick it off. Welcome once again, Jessica and MJ. It's good to see you and everyone else joining this webinar today. We're very excited to have you, and also to hear everything about your experience in running entrepreneurship competitions, and of course using the YouNoodle platform, especially to ease and facilitate the management of the full process of the competitions that sometimes might not be that easy, right? So we prepared a few questions for you that will guide our chat, our initial chat, but feel free to jump in, interrupt or comment at any time, Jessica and MJ. We're gonna leave some minutes by the end of the webinar for the audience to ask any questions they may have for you. So we're gonna give them also some time to ask any questions. So I think a good place to start would be to know a little bit more about both competitions. We can start with you, Mary. We'd love to hear more about the history of the University of Virginia Entrepreneurship Cup, or well known and best known as ECUP, right? And maybe it would be also good to know how your team or the team at the university decided to launch the competition in the first place.
So traditionally, like before I arrived, the business school ran a traditional business concept and then business plan competition. But business plans, like the lengthy, 15, 30 page, document that included a ton of market analysis, definitely went out of fashion with the whole, arrival of lean startup. But even before that, one of our main professors, Sarah Sarasvati, she had these principles of effectuation, which you can go and read all about. But they were very similar to some of the things in Lean, where it's really about connecting with your customers and trying to figure out more what they want, as opposed to having this big, long plan that you nail down every detail before you do anything. So the competition sort of evolved to reflect that. And we moved, the concept kind of stayed the same, like just a deadline, get your idea down on paper, 3 pages, just, take action, get some feedback from somebody other than, like your mom or your dog or your roommate, that kind of thing. And then we added an interim step, which we called discovery. And that is really about the whole customer discovery, make a prototype that you can put in front of somebody, that kind of activity. And it really is meant to judge what have you actually done, as opposed to what the idea is and whether it's scalable or that kind of thing, like real connection with customers. And our third phase we call launch, and that means that you feel some confidence that you're actually going to try and do this thing. And on the YouNoodle platform, we are able to have those 3 stages: concept, discovery, launch, all on one platform. And we go through each of those stages: concepts in the fall, discoveries like in February, and launches in April. And I would say one of the big evolutions when we kind of moved from the business school was to call it the University of Virginia Entrepreneurship Cup, and to really invite anybody from across the university to participate and to really kind of push it out a lot. And obviously the engineering school is a big, source of ideas, but really the College of Arts and Sciences, the undergrads, because that's the largest group at the University of Virginia, and you have a whole bunch of people there who tend to be entrepreneurial. They tend to be the poets who aren't afraid of doing things. So we get a lot of activity from that group because it's a big group, and because those guys are kind of like trying to figure everything out. So that's kind of the scope and the evolution of our competition.
Nice, cool, very interesting. Thank you, MJ. What about the George Washington New Venture Competition, Jessica?
Yeah, our journey actually followed a very similar path to, it sounds like, University of Virginia. I just came on the team a year ago, but the New Venture Competition has been around for 14 years, and it did start with the business plan in the business school. And so I currently work for the Office of Innovation and Entrepreneurship, and we sit centrally across the university. So we don't sit within a school such as the business school or the engineering school. We really have a duty to all students on campus, and we're proud to say that our competition really has participation from every single school, from the med school, business, engineering, Elliott School. But it did start from the business plan, and now it is a 2.5-month competition in the spring semester. There are 3 rounds, so 2 paper rounds and then 1 pitching live round. And we really work with students on customer discovery, prototyping, market assessment, to get their idea ready for that pitching live session. And so we In our 14-year history, we have served over 3,000 student entrepreneurs and have given away roughly around $3 million in cash and non-cash prizes. So it takes up the bulk of my spring semester, and I'm happy to say that we have a good amount of participation throughout campus from all different types of students and all different types of schools.
Nice, cool. Well, as we can see, these are like two completely different competitions, but I think what they have in common is that they actually want to encourage students, right, and try to get them into the entrepreneurship world since the beginning, and try to give them well, so that opportunities so that they can start experiencing all those things that are needed in the ecosystem, right? So this takes me to my next question, which is, how has running this university competition benefited or impacted the institution, like the university, or the student community? Like, how have you seen that impact of the competition within the students and within the institution?
Yeah, I'll take that question first. So the way that our competition works is that we do have some professors that assign it as a part of their course in the spring, but we also have students that have been working on this idea for a while and have, want validation and want to get feedback. We really hone our competition on judges' feedback, but it's really amazing to see, folks that perhaps are following a more traditional career path, such as being a lawyer or a doctor, but they want to do something on the side, such as, build a knee prosthetic. And so they take this idea into the competition, and it's really just an idea. They just thought about it yesterday, and they get validation throughout the process that they're like, hey, let me just, put this on hold, whatever my traditional career path is on hold, and let me explore what is going on with my idea, because I've gotten validation from my customer discovery, I've gotten validation from the judges. So let me just explore this a little bit further. And so it's really amazing to see that spark, to see that students have the opportunity to be entrepreneurs, because it's not, a traditional career path, quote unquote. So seeing that kind of spark in them I think has made a huge impact on the university.
Of course.
Yeah, I think it really is just a recognition for the students who are doing something a little bit different, some encouragement and some space to explore an idea. And I'll just give two specific examples. One is an MBA student who currently, has put off their, job start date till January. They spent 2 years while at Darden exploring different ideas, and they have a very, strong technical skill set, and were able to build prototypes pretty easily. But really took until spring of their second year to find some traction where they actually had customers who were paying, like really kind of figuring out something. And they're just super excited. They've already done, again, traditional jobs, and they'll always be able to do that. I think their summer internship was at Google as a product manager. So that's going to be a career path that they can always do. But I mean, I think the secret of Silicon Valley is that you can go fail at your startup, but still get a job as a PM somewhere. So that's one kind of happy thing where they had encouragement from us all along, keep trying this. But it really took actually a customer, to give them hopefully some runway to do this. And then another one of my favorite stories is in terms of encouraging somebody who probably never really would have looked at this path. They did as a biomedical engineering project. They were exploring male contraceptive, and they actually did it initially for their pet because their dog, they didn't like when their dog got spayed. But everybody was like, actually, we need this for humans. And many years later, they're finally in human trials, but that person was going to be a doctor, biomedical engineer. He was absolutely going to be a doctor. I still, I've met his parents multiple times. They seem okay with it. The son who's going to be a doctor has been an entrepreneur. And of course, it's a heavy science thing. So they've never made any money yet. They don't even have a product in the market 7 years later. So it's quite an epic story, but like having that initial encouragement, a competition to join, and the kids is a natural business person. I never saw anybody, pitch as well and be able to answer every question. And he just kind of like exudes that. But we gave him a place where we say, hey, this is a great idea, keep going. So that's the impact. And I do think it, as Jessica said, it can be very individual on an individual student basis.
Absolutely. I'm just going to add to that real quick, Lorena, if that's okay. Last year, GW had the largest freshman class that identified as an entrepreneur. And so I think that we'll see that for the years to come. So having a place for them to just kind of hone in their energy and their creativity to start a business, I think is super important, because we'll see more and more of that as the years go on, in my opinion.
Of course, I totally agree. And I think these competitions and programs are the best place where they can test their skills, experience everything. Because in the end, if they succeed or not, definitely there will be like other opportunities for them that will get open, right? Due to be part of the competition. So that's really good. I'm gonna go to a more like a different question about the challenges that you guys have faced while managing the day-to-day or daily activities when running the competition. If there was a before and after using the YouNoodle platform, I mean, we would love to hear that. But just I think it would just good to know what challenges you guys have faced during the management of the competitions.
I think that for us, the way we do it, we're running 3 competitions a year throughout the year, and each one is a pretty tight time frame. The thing, and we're recruiting, online reviewers. So one thing that I find challenging is, life happens, and if somebody you've assigned them to read things and they don't do it, or even when you're just initially assigning things, the ability in YouNoodle to kind of like go in and switch sort of your judging, kind of like who has what. And I could do that so pretty instantly. And I do that every competition. Something, either somebody isn't able to judge them all, or for whatever reason, we're making adjustments kind of on the fly. And that's probably my favorite thing about YouNoodle, is the ability to do that.
I would love to tag on to that. So our competition gets about 500 applications. We only run one competition, but it gets about 500, close to 500 every single year. But each application gets reviewed 3 times. And so we have to review, a total of 15. We have to have a total of 1,500 reviews. And we are able to recruit around 200 judges. But as MJ mentioned, things come up. And so, there are times that, and I try to keep things tight in terms of, a judge only gets 10 applications, because after a certain while they do get fatigued, and we want to make sure that the judging and the comments are up to par, because we really pride ourselves on our judges' comments. And so things happen, things change, and I really don't want people to have to take on more than 10 or more than whatever the max is for that round. And so being able to do it on the fly is super helpful, and seeing how much progress they've completed throughout the time, and how much they have left, I think is definitely one of the challenges that we've faced, but also something that YouNoodle has been great in giving us the opportunity to do things on the fly.
Amazing. That's good to know. I think the main goal of the platform is to save you some time, so you can focus your time on some other relevant tasks and things that are super important while managing the competition, right? Especially the communication with the students and managing everything to have everything ready for the events, for the judges and evaluators. So it's good to know that the platform has been like pretty helpful for you. And you actually answered one of my questions, which was, which are the features that you think are the most valuable while managing the program? So I really appreciate that. And I think just one thing more, one question more would be, do you think that the YouNoodle platform has helped you streamline the application and evaluation process in a way? Did it simplify the workflow of the competition?
You know, it was so long ago that we used to use spreadsheets to do this. Like, I can't even remember. We were fairly early on YouNoodle. One thing that I will say, and I wish I could remember more detail, is I think YouNoodle was the first competition platform that we used. And the student who recommended it graduated, I want to say, in 2009. So that's how long we've been using it. But in the interim, we did try some other platforms. I know many years ago, the Kauffman Foundation had a platform, and it just didn't, the flow of it didn't work as well. And my memory is that, again, this ability to sort of, on the front end, when you're assigning judges to entries, ours is a much smaller competition, especially the third stage where it's the students that are really going to launch. The ability to, for me in particular, because I've met a lot of the students, like I can adjust and say, oh, I have a conflict with this one, I shouldn't read theirs, that sort of thing. So at the beginning when I'm assigning things, and then again at the end, if somebody hasn't read, to be able to reassign. And usually that's just a couple, but it's important. And that's, yeah, that is probably, I think that is something that wasn't available in such a easy interface. Like I'm picturing it right now, how I can move things around. I don't think that was available with a couple of the other platforms that we had tried in the interim. So we came back to YouNoodle, but that was even several years ago. So I can't really remember the details of what we did or didn't like.
And I'll say, similar to MJ, we've also looked at other platforms. So our competition is 3 rounds. 2 of them is paper rounds, so solely application based. And then 1 is a live round. And so I really like the capability to do the entire competition in YouNoodle, whereas in other platforms, it was really just better on paper or better as a pitching live type of platform. And so that's what I really liked about YouNoodle. I will also say this year, we expanded from 3 rounds to 3 tracks to 5 tracks. So we have a healthcare track, consumer goods and services, business goods and services, social innovation, and then an explorer track for those budding entrepreneurs. And so with all of these tracks and all of these applications, it's really helped me keep things straight. When I'm looking at healthcare tracks, I know it's only healthcare and it's not, a mix of social or consumer goods. It's only healthcare or it's only explorer. And so really being able to keep everything in line helps me a lot, because the competition moves quickly and there are a lot of applications to get through and judges to manage. And so that's what I really like about YouNoodle, is it keeps me straight, keeps me organized, and makes sure that I can focus on other things instead of, manually inputting scores.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your experience using the YouNoodle platform. It's good to know there are like positive comments. So in that same direction, I would ask, do you think that the platform has improved the overall experience of everyone that is part of the competition, such as students, you as an administrators and program organizers, of course, judges, evaluators, and everyone who's part at some point of the competition? Do you think you have like improved experience of all of them in a certain way?
Hard to know. Yes, I think so. We actually did do a survey, and we didn't specifically, the survey wasn't about the YouNoodle platform, it was about the competitions, but we did ask in the, sort of things that can you comment on? We did say the platform. And overall, we just had much more positive feedback. Like when you ask for feedback like that, you're expecting that the people that are going to bother to do it are going to have something negative to say. And I think we only had one like negative comment from the feedback, and it was certainly had nothing to do with YouNoodle and was completely unrelated. So I think that people find it easy to use.
Nice.
And I will say the same. I think it's really based on how you set it up. Before I came on to the competition, for the judges, there were a lot of questions around YouNoodle, but I think when I came on board, I've kind of set things up a little bit differently. And we also do a survey and we ask, how was your experience with YouNoodle? And it is overwhelmingly positive. And so I think it really is based on how you set it up and working with you, Lorena, on, what the flow is for each individual that is going through it. And so I know that there was some, some things around glitching in the system and things like that, but as long as you set it up properly and you work with Lorena and the team to, make sure that the user flow is good, I think judges overall have a overwhelmingly positive experience.
Good. It's just, I think we ask this question because we've seen with other clients, they have a really cool program, a really good opportunity for students, but the process is it's complicated. So that sometimes the process may affect this or the results of the student. So if it's like difficult to apply or they get to see like different barriers during the process, they just, instead of getting encouraged to be part of the competition, they just stop it there and stop participating in those types of programs that the university tries to promote, right? So I think it's using a platform where it offers a good experience for all of the people that are involved within the competition. It's crucial, right? So that's really good. Thank you so much for sharing. And well, I think to finalize, I have just one question left, and I think it's the most important one. And it's, what would you recommend to other universities and schools when launching an entrepreneurship competition for students?
I'll go ahead and take that one first. I just recommend looking at your program holistically. As I mentioned, I joined the team about a year ago, and due to some circumstances, I was building the rounds as they were happening. And so if I had the opportunity to step back, I think I would have, reduced some redundancy. Like, for example, my competition has 3 rounds, and I accidentally created 3 separate competitions in YouNoodle. And so I had to transfer when students, applied or submitted their next round, I had to transfer that information manually. Instead of, if I created one competition in YouNoodle, all of that information would have been there. And so I just put extra work on myself. Whereas if you just take a step back and look at your program holistically, instead of doing things, down to the wire, I know things come up, but that's something that I would recommend, is to look at your program holistically and listen to your students. That is the most important thing. As I mentioned, we had 3 rounds before, or 3 tracks before. It was a new venture track, a social track, and a tech track. And the students were just confused and they didn't know where they fit. And so that's why we expanded to 5 tracks. And we've gotten really positive feedback that the students are competing around like-minded students. It's not a retail store competing against a, med school products that they've been building with their classroom. And so really listen to your students, and the feedback will ultimately make your competition a better place for your students, make it a better judging experience, and hopefully make it better for you in terms of it being fun for you to manage.
Cool. What about you, MJ?
I'm taking notes from Jessica on that one. More tracks is better. I think in terms of advice, having, like, I think our concept competition where it's a low barrier to entry, to kind of get people just to, again, give themselves the deadline. This is not hard to do. We just want to hear the idea, to encourage the broadest number of students to participate. Yeah, I think that would be my number one kind of thing. And that's where we have multiple tracks. And I do think students are confused by our tracks, and that we should have more, and that's something we can look at.
Amazing. Good. Perfect. Thank you so much for those enriching recommendations. And thank you so much, Jessica and MJ. I would love to continue with interrogatory, but I think I need to respect everyone's time. So if you don't have like any additional comments, I'd like to leave some time for any questions from the audience, for the rest of the people that joined this webinar, or if you just want to share your own experience, we would love to hear it. Let me check if we have received some questions on the chat. I know that we received also some questions on the registration form of the webinar. So if there are no questions on the chat right there, we can take some of those that some people left there.
Yes, let's do that. Do you have them or do you want me to pull them up?
I have them here. Okay, so maybe we can just take a couple of them. We received multiple, but due to the time, let's just take a few of those. So what do you have? Oh, sorry. Do you have a follow-up program with the winners of the competition after the competition is over to support them and give them, to support them, sorry, in the next steps in their journey?
We run a summer incubator program, and anybody who is a finalist in the second two competitions has sort of like a fast track, application to interview for that program. And that would be the program formulaic way that we support students, and that also has an additional stipend or expense budget associated with it that goes to the company. There's more informal ways because not everybody wants to or is able to dedicate the summer to being in the incubator program. They can do it part-time virtually, or they can do it full-time in person. So that would be the main way that we support students formally.
And for us, in the second round, we assign mentor in residence. And so we really encourage our students to continue meeting with their mentor for the duration of their idea generation, or even further. I've heard about relationships that are 6+ years going on and they're still meeting with their mentor in residence every so often. We also, in my office, we do I-Corps, which is a program funded by the National Science Foundation. And so we really encourage our finalists to go through that program, where it's a 2-week short course focused on customer discovery. And then towards the end, they can receive a stipend and then apply for the national I-Corps, which they receive an even bigger stipend and do more customer discovery. And so that's really 2 ways that we support our entrepreneurs after the competition.
Amazing. Good to know that you have like a post-competition program. Perfect. Okay, maybe we can take one more question. Have you worked with other partner universities or schools from other universities to extend the impact of the competition in terms of the students?
Not for, well, complicated answer. There was I think it called was the ACC Inventure Prize that was run out of, I think, Georgia Tech. I might be wrong. And but that's only for the engineering undergrad students. So we definitely participated in that for a few years, and that was generally somebody who had I believe won our competition. So it was kind of like a feeder selection process for that. So that would be the one that I can think of off the top of my head.
The partnership. Good. Go ahead, Jessica.
And I'll say our competition is, although it's focused on the GW community, it's actually open to anyone, and as long as they have 50% student ownership. So 50% has to be a student and 50% has to be a GW community member or a GW current student. And so you could have a team of 4 with 2 GW students, and then your friend from Stanford and your friend from UVA if you wanted. And so we really encourage people to make diverse teams, whether it's on campus or out of campus. We also, because we're located in DC, we're very close with the other DMV schools. And so we'll host, networking events with the other schools to encourage some cross-pollination between the University of Maryland, American, George Mason, all of the schools in the DC area. And so our competition is open to other students as long as they're paired up with a current GW student.
Yeah, right. So that's part of the eligibility criteria, right? For students to be able to apply. Nice. Really cool. Perfect. And maybe one more, we can take one more of the questions that they sent, which is, what else do you have to consider using while running a competition for students in general?
I will say the toughest part is one, recruitment, really getting students on board and getting their applications before, the deadline, because they have so many priorities going on. I see so many applications. Our deadline is 11:59. I see so many applications come in at like 11:55. And so the recruitment part, and really starting early, we start in October, and our first round applications end in January. So we give a long leeway time. We give winter break for students to think about their idea. And then of course they will submit their idea, when the deadline is, but at least we've given them time to actually to think about their idea over an extended period of time. I will say, because our competition is in the spring semester, it happens quickly. And so being mindful of, spring break, midterms, finals. Before I came on board, students would take a lesser course load to do the New Venture competition. And now we've made it a little bit more manageable. Not a little bit more manageable, that they can do the competition and their course load and whatever else they're doing on campus. So just being mindful of the student experience when it comes to so many priorities on campus in DC at GW, at least. Most students are doing a full-time job in addition to their course load. Like, that's a very common student experience here. And so just being mindful of their experience and what they have going on. The New Venture competition, although it's awesome and I love it, it's not their only priority that they have in the spring.
Cool. Yes, that's definitely one of the best recommendations that we usually give to our clients. They have to consider unofficial deadlines because they will definitely get students not sending their applications on time. So thank you so much, Jessica. What about you, MJ?
So what was the original question?
Yeah, like, what else do you have to consider when running a competition for students?
Yeah, it is the demands on time. And actually one thing that we talked about this year and kind of put out to the students was, should we only have 2 competitions? Because we have 3, so it's a lot. And of course the ones that, they said no, they loved having the middle one, because the middle one really pushes you to do the customer discovery. And also for them, it's opportunity to win more money, so they can get $1,000 in the first stage, the top 5 in each track. So it's $20,000 for 5, 10, 15. Yeah, it's for 20 companies. And then the next stage is $5,000 for the top 5. And then the last stage is 20, 10, 15, and 5 for audience choice. So yeah, for them, it's an opportunity to have lower stakes to win additional dollars to support their program. But that is, all the other demanding or demands on student time. And I don't think we have a lot of students working full-time jobs, but one of the teams that did really well and kind of honed it over 2 years worth of both competitions and student discovery. The student was a Division I athlete, which is super demanding. And they actually their teammate had to pitch it last year because they just couldn't make the actual competition. So it is, student demands, course loads, and the whole timing it around exams and vacations, breaks. That's probably the trickiest part of the whole thing.
Of course, yes, considering the timeline of the competition is crucial, right? Perfect. Well, I think we don't have like any other questions, right, Per, in the chat. No, we should be good. Perfect. Well, if there are no other or further questions, I would like to thank you once again, Jessica and MJ, for joining this webinar today and sharing your experience on running university competitions. We touched just a few important and interesting points, but I think they were like very helpful for everyone that joined today. So I think it was a very interesting conversation. I hope everyone took some notes to consider for encouraging students to first encouraging universities to open up more entrepreneurial opportunities, and also students to try it and to unleash their own potential, right? So I think having these types of forums where we can all share things that might work for the rest of the community is definitely something that YouNoodle will continue to do. And hopefully you can also join us in those events. So thank you so much again, Jessica and MJ. If there was anyone on the call that wanted to learn more about the competitions or about YouNoodle, feel free to reply to the follow-up email that we're gonna send. And yeah, without further ado, I will pass it on to Pernille, who will take the last minutes to announce the special promotion that we have available today.
Thank you, Lorena. 1 second. So as Lorena mentioned, we did want to share a small promotion with you today with 2 of our features that we know all of our program managers can benefit from, but also university program managers can benefit from. So the first of it is our interactive competition dashboards. We know that some of the things that every program manager struggles with is metrics and reporting and showing data to stakeholders. So that's why we come up with this solution to make these interactive dashboards for you. So we take the manual part out of reporting and let you focus on what's important. And these dashboards can be used both during the application round, so measuring different KPIs in the application window. It could be used during the judging phases to compare results from different judging rounds or scores to different judging rounds, or it could be a combination of both if you want to have one super dashboard that shows you all the insights to your program. So that's one feature that's available to you. The other one is a feature we launched last year, and it's been very, very popular with the clients who've used it so far. It's our public voting feature. So it's technically taking a judging round and opening up to the public. You get the opportunity to highlight, showcase your finalists of the program, and then you let your community chime in and vote on their favorite. This can be part of your judging structure, or it could be as an additional audience favorite award. But really, it's an amazing opportunity to, one, you promote your program, your university, but it's also an amazing opportunity for the entrepreneurs to get their idea out and their marketing around their company and what they're doing. And it's really something that will promote itself. You don't have to do anything because the students will work very hard to promote that there is this public voting opportunity and have their network go in and vote for them. So that way, this page will really spread itself, and then you'll get votes coming in really fast. And the promotion that we're offering right now for anybody, it doesn't matter if you're a new client, if you've been with us for years, if you've never used these features before, we're offering them at a 30% discount for you to come and try them out and see how they work for your program and your program management. So those are the special promotions. And with that, I will just also thank you guys for participating. It's been really helpful hearing from Jessica and Mary, Joe and Jay, how your program works, what you've been doing, and how it's been impacting the students. I think it's really fun for us who work with a lot of different programmers on a daily basis, but on the back end, so we don't always know what's going on the front end and how this is received on the other side. So it's fun to hear and fun to speak with you always. And I've let Lorena and mine's contact information at the bottom if anybody has any questions that were not answered, you want to learn more about any of the features, or you want to wants us to connect you with either Jessica or MJ, we'll be happy to do so. So thank you guys for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you.